In the early 1800s, the vast territory of Texas was part of Mexico. This land, known as Tejas, was a sprawling expanse of untamed wilderness, rich in natural resources and potential. The Mexican government, having recently gained independence from Spain, saw Texas as a land of opportunity, a place where new settlements could thrive and contribute to the nation's growth. This land, known as Tejas, was sparsely populated. The vast plains stretched out endlessly, with only a few scattered settlements dotting the landscape. The Mexican government recognized the need to populate this region to secure its borders and harness its resources. Many Native American tribes called it home. These tribes, including the Comanche, Apache, and Caddo, had lived on this land for centuries, developing rich cultures and traditions. They hunted, farmed, and traded, creating a vibrant tapestry of life in the region. However, the Spanish, and later the Mexicans, saw its potential. They envisioned a land of thriving settlements, bustling trade, and agricultural abundance. To achieve this vision, they needed more people to settle in Texas. They encouraged Americans to settle there. The Mexican government saw the influx of American settlers as a way to quickly populate the region and boost its economy. They believed that these settlers would bring skills, labor, and innovation to Texas. The Mexican government offered generous land grants to attract settlers. These grants provided large tracts of land at little to no cost, making it an enticing offer for those seeking new opportunities. The promise of fertile land and a fresh start drew many to Texas. Thousands of Americans, eager for new opportunities, answered the call. They packed up their belongings, said goodbye to their homes, and embarked on the arduous journey to Texas. These pioneers were driven by the hope of a better life and the chance to own land. They migrated to Texas, bringing their families, slaves, and dreams of prosperity. The journey was long and difficult, but the promise of fertile land and a new beginning kept them going. Upon arrival, they set to work building homes, farms, and communities. Cotton farming, in particular, flourished in the fertile Texan soil. The warm climate and rich soil made Texas an ideal place for growing cotton, which quickly became a major cash crop. This agricultural boom attracted even more settlers to the region. This influx of American settlers, however, created tension. The cultural and linguistic differences between the American settlers and the Mexican citizens were significant. The settlers brought with them their own customs, language, and way of life, which often clashed with those of the Mexican residents. The cultural and linguistic differences were significant. Communication was often difficult, and misunderstandings were common. The American settlers were used to a different legal and political system, which sometimes led to conflicts with Mexican authorities. Moreover, many Americans brought slaves with them, while Mexico had abolished slavery. This created a major point of contention, as the Mexican government was committed to enforcing its anti-slavery laws. The presence of slaves in Texas was a constant source of friction. The stage was set for a clash of cultures and ambitions. The American settlers were determined to maintain their way of life, while the Mexican government sought to assert its authority and integrate Texas into the nation. These opposing goals created an atmosphere of tension and uncertainty. The Mexican government, concerned about the growing American influence, attempted to assert more control over Texas. They implemented new laws and regulations aimed at curbing the autonomy of the settlers and reinforcing Mexican sovereignty. This only fueled resentment among the American settlers. They felt that their rights and freedoms were being threatened by the Mexican government's actions. The settlers were used to a high degree of autonomy and were unwilling to accept what they saw as oppressive measures. They felt their rights and autonomy were being threatened. The settlers began to organize and voice their discontent, demanding greater representation and more control over their own affairs. The seeds of rebellion were being sown. By the 1830s, the seeds of rebellion were sown. The settlers' frustration and anger grew, leading to increasing acts of defiance against Mexican authority. The situation in Texas was becoming increasingly volatile. Texas was on the brink of a revolution that would change its destiny forever. The tensions between the American settlers and the Mexican government had reached a boiling point, setting the stage for a conflict that would reshape the future of Texas and its people. Tensions between the Texan settlers and the Mexican government had been simmering for years. The settlers, many of whom were originally from the United States, had moved to Texas when it was still part of Mexico, lured by the promise of cheap land and a new start. However, cultural differences, language barriers, and disputes over laws and governance created a growing sense of unease. By 1835, these tensions finally erupted into open conflict. The Mexican government, under President Antonio López de Santa Anna, had become increasingly authoritarian, centralizing power and reducing the autonomy of the Texan settlers. This led to widespread dissatisfaction and calls for greater self-governance among the Texans. The revolution began with skirmishes between Texans and Mexican troops. These early clashes were marked by a series of small but significant battles, as the Texans sought to assert their rights and resist Mexican control. The conflict quickly escalated, drawing in more fighters on both sides. The iconic Battle of Gonzales, where Texans famously refused to surrender a cannon, marked the start of the armed struggle. The Texans had been given the cannon by the Mexican government for defense against Native American attacks, but when Mexican troops demanded its return, the settlers defiantly raised a flag emblazoned with the words, "Come and take it." This act of defiance galvanized the Texan resistance and set the stage for the larger conflict to come. The Alamo, a former mission in San Antonio, became a symbol of Texan resistance. Originally built as a Spanish mission, the Alamo had been converted into a makeshift fort by the Texan defenders. Its strategic location made it a key target for the Mexican army, and its defense became a rallying point for the Texan cause. In early 1836, a small group of Texan defenders, including legendary figures like William B. Travis, James Bowie, and Davy Crockett, withstood a weeks-long siege by the Mexican army. These men, along with around 200 other defenders, held out against overwhelming odds, knowing that reinforcements were unlikely to arrive in time. Their bravery and determination became the stuff of legend. Though ultimately defeated, the defenders of the Alamo bought precious time for the Texan army. Their sacrifice allowed General Sam Houston to gather and train his forces, preparing for the decisive battles that would follow. The fall of the Alamo was a tragic loss, but it also served as a powerful motivator for the Texan fighters. Their sacrifice became a rallying cry, inspiring Texans to fight for their independence with the battle cry, "Remember the Alamo." This phrase echoed across the Texan ranks, reminding them of the courage and determination of those who had fallen at the Alamo. It became a symbol of their resolve to achieve freedom and self-determination. Under the leadership of General Sam Houston, the Texan Army regrouped. Houston, a seasoned military leader and politician, understood the importance of strategic planning and morale. He used the time bought by the defenders of the Alamo to train his troops and plan a decisive counterattack against the Mexican forces. In April 1836, at the Battle of San Jacinto, they decisively defeated Mexican General Santa Anna's forces. The battle lasted just 18 minutes, but its impact was profound. The Texan army launched a surprise attack on the Mexican camp, catching them off guard and securing a swift and decisive victory. Santa Anna was captured, and his defeat marked the end of Mexican control over Texas. The victory secured Texan independence and cemented Sam Houston's status as a Texas hero. The Republic of Texas was born, and the legacy of the Alamo lived on as a testament to the courage and determination of those who fought for freedom. The story of the Alamo continues to inspire generations, reminding us of the power of resilience and the enduring quest for liberty. With the victory at San Jacinto, Texas declared its independence from Mexico. The Republic of Texas, with its iconic Lone Star flag, was born. Sam Houston, the hero of San Jacinto, became its first president. The young republic faced enormous challenges. Recognition from other nations proved difficult. Mexico refused to acknowledge Texas's independence and threatened further military action. The United States, while sympathetic to the Texan cause, hesitated to annex Texas, fearing war with Mexico. The Republic struggled financially. Its army was small and ill-equipped, and its borders were constantly under threat from Native American raids. Despite these challenges, the Republic of Texas persevered. Texans, known for their independent spirit and resilience, began the difficult task of building a nation. They established a government, drafted a constitution, and worked tirelessly to secure their hard-won freedom. The question of annexation by the United States loomed large over the Republic of Texas. This was not just a political decision, but a matter that would determine the future of the region and its people. The Republic of Texas, having declared its independence from Mexico in 1836, was at a crossroads. Should it remain an independent nation, Or should it join the United States and become part of a larger union? Many Texans, particularly Anglo-Americans, favored joining the U.S. They had strong cultural and economic ties to the United States, and many had originally come from there. The idea of becoming part of a powerful and prosperous nation was appealing. They believed that annexation would bring stability and security to their lives, which had been marked by conflict and uncertainty. They saw annexation as a way to ensure their security, boost their economy, and solidify their independence. The economic benefits were particularly enticing. Being part of the United States would open up new markets for their goods and provide access to resources and infrastructure that were otherwise out of reach. Additionally, the protection of the U.S. military would offer a sense of safety against potential threats from Mexico and Native American tribes. However, annexation was a contentious issue in the United States. The nation was deeply divided on the matter, with strong opinions on both sides. The political landscape of the 1840s was fraught with debates and disagreements, and the question of Texas's future was a hot topic in Congress and among the general public. The debate centered on two main concerns: slavery and the potential for war with Mexico. The issue of slavery was particularly divisive. Texas was a slaveholding republic, and its annexation would upset the delicate balance of power between slave and free states in the U.S. This balance was crucial in maintaining political stability and preventing conflict between the North and the South. Texas, a slaveholding republic, would upset the balance of power between slave and free states in the U.S. The addition of another slave state would give the pro-slavery faction more power in Congress, which was a cause for concern among abolitionists and those who opposed the expansion of slavery. This issue was not just about Texas, but about the future direction of the entire nation. Anti-slavery advocates vehemently opposed annexation, fearing it would expand the institution of slavery. They argued that allowing Texas to join the Union would set a dangerous precedent and encourage the spread of slavery into new territories. This was a moral and ethical issue for many, and they were determined to fight against it. They argued that Texas should remain independent or be returned to Mexico. Some believed that an independent Texas could serve as a buffer state between the U.S. and Mexico, reducing the risk of conflict. Others felt that Texas's independence was not sustainable in the long term, and that it would eventually need to align with a larger power. The potential for war with Mexico also gave many Americans pause. Mexico had never recognized Texas's independence and considered it a rebellious province. The annexation of Texas by the U.S. would be seen as an act of aggression, likely leading to military conflict. This was a significant concern for those who wanted to avoid war and maintain peaceful relations with their southern neighbor. Mexico had never recognized Texas's independence and threatened war if the U.S. annexed it. The prospect of war was a daunting one, with potential loss of life and economic costs. Many Americans were wary of getting involved in another conflict, especially one that could have far-reaching consequences for the entire nation. The annexation of Texas was a complex issue with far-reaching implications. It was not just about the immediate benefits or drawbacks, but about the long-term impact on the United States and its people. The decision would shape the nation's future, influencing its political landscape, its economy, and its social fabric. It would shape the destiny of both Texas and the United States for years to come. The annexation of Texas was a turning point in American history, one that would have lasting effects on the nation's development and its place in the world. The decision to join the Union was not taken lightly, and its consequences are still felt to this day.